Joining us on the line right now is Alex Brown. He is at Woodbine. Alex, you've been in the horse racing industry for 20 years, but for many of those years, you didn't know what was going on. What was the eye-opener for you?
I was pretty oblivious to the whole horse slaughter issue up until right after the Kentucky Derby 2006. I was following Barbaro and actually ultimately ran a website updating Barbaro's condition as he was a patient at the New Bolton Center, and through that whole project basically became very aware of the horse slaughter issue and began to sort of get involved in quite a serious way in terms of as a grassroots group to try to end horse slaughter.
Why did you want to do it, though?
Well, I've been around horses all my life, so obviously they've meant a lot to me and have been very good to me. And I think simply it's the right thing to do, right? It's, sometimes you should do the right thing. And I've been given an opportunity essentially to try to make a difference. And I think having been presented that opportunity, it makes sense to take advantage of it and see if I can help make a difference.
I guess, and this is from a layman who is outside of the industry, and I'm going to fall back on something that touches most Canadians who are listening to this program now who have a domesticated pet. We just went through the first anniversary of having to put our dog down.
Right.
And, dogs don't get any more loyal as an animal than, maybe thoroughbreds.
Right.
Because every time you watch a Barbaro and you listen to the people who train or own, they're in love with these animals, and they talk about the character traits, especially of the thoroughbred horse. And I assume that's what you guys have fallen in love with.
Right. I mean, there is a bit of a controversy. How is a horse classified? Is it classified as livestock versus a companion animal like a dog and a cat?
Yeah.
And I think certainly we treat them more as a companion animal. We train them, we humanize them, we work with them, they work with us, so on and so forth. Much different to traditional livestock like cows and sheep and pigs and so forth. Personally, myself, I gallop 7 or 8 horses each morning for Steve Asmussen. And I get pretty close to these horses, and I enjoy galloping them and picking up their idiosyncrasies, and sort of you build relationships with the horses, and I think the horses know who you are, and it's a positive relationship for everybody. And certainly the betrayal of slaughter is just not appropriate for horses that we have humanized and worked with and trained and loved and benefited from and bet on and so on and so forth.
I suppose at the end of the day, some people who do send the thoroughbreds or standard breds off to the slaughterhouse just look at them now as an expense. If they didn't pan out as a racehorse, now they're just eating tomorrow's profit up.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but how the industries are structured, horses do cost money, and on the thoroughbred side, you have to have horses in the stalls that are productive and running. And if the horse is no longer productive, the options to retire the horse and find it a good spot to be in are somewhat limiting. I mean, it's good here at Woodbine that we have the long run.
Nope, we've lost Alex there briefly. And there he is. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah,
you just clicked there once, that's all. Yeah.
The long-run retirement program. And I know on the standardbred side, they have the Ontario Standardbred Adoption Society, and at Fort Erie, there's Phase 2 Thoroughbred. So there are programs out there to try to help retire these horses. But there are certainly more horses that need retiring than programs that can manage this. And, some of these horses end up in the wrong spot. And I will say that when I was at the auction recently with Peter Gross a couple of weeks ago, it was predominantly standardbreds that were going through that auction and going to kill. There were 2 thoroughbreds there, which was very sad in of itself, right? 2 is too many. But, Ontario has a strong standardbred program, and it seems like those guys are more at risk.
What were there that day? About 100 horses, I thought, in Peter's article?
Yeah, probably around 100 horses.
And how many then would have been sold to go off to a riding school or to go and pull a carriage somewhere? I understand a lot of thoroughbreds, if they've still got strength and stamina, end up pulling chuck wagons out in Calgary and out west. Animals can do other things, obviously. But on that day, out of the 100 horses that were there for auction, how many would have gone to different uses and how many would have gone to slaughter?
I'd say, the horses are getting, the majority of the horses that were sold that day were sold by the pound. So that's a clear signal that the majority of the customer there is for kill, right? You don't buy a horse by the pound if you're going to, if your market is for other than slaughter. There were some horses that went through the ring, ridden through the ring, and they were getting sold by the head. But that's kind of one of the indications to tell where that horse is destined. I'd say certainly well over 50% did go to kill. Obviously, I'm speculating a little bit, but you can tell by the cents per pound these horses were going for, and they were going for about 29, 30 cents per pound, maybe a couple of cents more. And a friend of mine was there through the entire auction and afterwards and indicated to me that there was a significant number of horses that were shipped to Alberta to slaughter. But you're right, there are other opportunities, and there are horse dealers there buying some of these horses with the idea to sell them on to families and to kids and to other avenues. And one of those being, chuck wagon racing and so forth.
Which has its own controversy out west, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What happens to them after they've been chuck wagon racing?
Well, or if they're in a collision and they're hurt, they, of course, are destroyed, just like thoroughbreds would be on the track. Listen, Peter Gross kind of described you in that brief little commentary as a bit of a horse whisperer, that you're able to go into the stall and calm those horses. And that leads me to the next question. How much do they know about what is about to happen to them? I don't know how you put an intelligence quotient on a horse, but you work the horses every day. You know they have idiosyncrasies. People have described some of the great horses of all time as having these unique characters, that they knew that they were athletes and elite athletes.
Yeah. I mean, for one thing, I certainly wouldn't describe myself as a horse whisperer. As a horseman, I know how to go into a stall and treat a horse right so that it works with me. So that's pretty much how that would work. But basically, you go into one of these pens and corrals, and the horse might be in a pen on its own, but it might be in with a group of other horses. And certainly after it's sold, if it's going to kill, it's put in a group with many other horses, unless it has shoes on them, they're pulled. But the point being, this is an alien environment for the majority of these horses. They're used to their own stall, their own paddock, throughout their life. So certainly the unfamiliar environment is going to add stress to the horse. The closer it gets to slaughter, that unfamiliar environment simply manifests, right? It gets on a truck, herded with a bunch of horses when it's used to being in a stall on a trailer on its own. It's in a feedlot with a whole group of horses, so on and so forth. So it's just an extremely stressful process for the horse leading up to slaughter, and then obviously the process of slaughter itself is not conducive to a horse, which is a flight animal. It has a long neck. It's going to duck away from the captive bolt, unlike a more docile animal, like a cow or whatever that might be more geared to that, I suppose. But these horses are stressed, and the further they go through the system, the more that stress builds for sure.
Alex, thanks for joining us with this insight, and people can get more information from alexbrownracing.com and keep up the good work. We're going to talk to Jan and Norman about legislation, about the slaughterhouses, about where the meat is going in our next segment. So I thank you for shedding a light on this, and keep up the good work.
I appreciate having the chance to talk about it. Thank you very much.
Take care. That's Alex Brown. He's at Woodbine right now. He works there every day, but he's also going around North America spreading the word about going out and saving